So the big-ish, it's still February after all, movie in US theaters right now is M. Night Shyamalan's Glass, which is kind of bad and disappointing, but I'm not going to get into that much here because this isn't about Glass, other than to note that while people are going to see this one, the anticipated result of love it or hate it, everyone is going to be arguing about the big twist that's supposed to accompany every M. Night Shyamalan movie, isn't really taking shape this time. Not because Glass doesn't have a big twist, it actually has a couple of them, they're just kind of bad and tiresome and leave you going, oh god, do we really have to keep doing this? Instead, to the degree that big twist movie discussion is going on at all right at this moment, it's happening around a movie people generally did not go to see, Serenity, a long advertised but also not all that heavily hyped neo-noir thriller starring Matthew McConaughey, Anne Hathaway, and Jason Clarke. It opened about a week ago, received mostly poor reviews, bombed at the box office, and I'm pretty sure most people watching this right now are probably saying to themselves, I never even heard about this. But among those who have seen it, or didn't but chose to read about it and spoil themselves anyway, it's become instantly mimetic for supposedly concealing one of the wildest plot twists ever within what was only ever sold as a basic melodramatic thriller, and also maybe being an early candidate for the worst movie of the year because said twist is so ridiculous it couldn't ever have possibly worked. Is it either of those things? Well, to be honest, you should probably just go see the movie, if you still can, and decide for yourself about that. This video will still be here after you do, but okay, otherwise it's been out for a little bit, so I guess sure, let's talk about it. Spoiler warning, obviously, from here on out. Okay, so Serenity starts out as your basic neo-noir thriller, which means it's a film noir but shot in color and high-contrast lighting and probably set somewhere hot where everybody sweats all the time and is really horny and has lots of sex and secrets and sexy secrets. Matthew McConaughey is an Iraq vet with a Purple Heart named Baker Dill, who's now a fisherman on an island in the middle of nowhere, who's not steadily employed and drunk all the time, but he's still ripped as hell because reasons, and he spends his time catching different kinds of fish for money, taking dumb tourists on fishing trips also for money, helping this other sexy washout loner played by Diane Lane find her cat that keeps running away, and sometimes sleeping with her for more money when he needs, like, extra money, but mostly he's obsessed with catching this one monster tuna that lives off the coast of the island but always keeps getting away from him. Anyway, Anne Hathaway shows up as his ex-wife, who's now the trophy wife of this evil criminal guy played by Jason Clarke, and she says he's abusing her and their son, meaning Matthew McConaughey's son, and she wants to hire Dill to take him out on his boat for a birthday fishing trip and, come back without him. Leave him out there. Just, kill him. So, pretty basic noir thriller plot. Is he gonna do it? Is she giving him the whole story? Can he trust her? Etc. Except as he works up the nerve to do this thing or not, things start to go all weird. He has weird nightmares about his son, who he finds out has become a shut-in video game addict because of all the abuse. He's getting chased around the island by a weird salesman or process server or whatever who's trying to give him something unidentified from a briefcase. The audience is probably starting to notice that the island itself is kind of strange in general, like how some of it feels like New England and other parts of it feel like the Caribbean, and all the people and moving parts feel at once specific and overly generic, but mostly the closer Baker gets to deciding, okay, I'm probably going to kill this guy, the more his friends and the world around him seem to randomly get in the way of that goal. Finally, at about the midpoint of the movie, he finds the salesman and corners him and makes him tell him what the hell is going on, and this is what's got everyone talking, to the degree that people are talking about this movie. It turns out Serenity is actually a video game movie. No, for real, that's what we're doing here. Baker Dill, and indeed the island and everything else in the movie except the nightmare scenes of the kid playing video games in his room are actually just characters, sprites, and locations inside a video game created and being played by the kid, whose father, who also looked just like Matthew McConaughey, actually died in Iraq, and whose mother really did remarry an abusive guy, so he's retreated into a self-programmed, stress-relieving video game about living on an island, catching fish, doing odd jobs, and getting paid to sleep with Diane Lane in the person of an avatar that looks just like his cool dead dad he misses as the player character, because I guess we're assuming this is what a disturbed middle school Minecraft prodigy would design the good place to be. But the abuse is now getting worse, so the kid has added a new murder my bastard stepfather minigame into the program, in addition to the previous catch the fish, find the cat, and male prostitution minigames, in order to psych himself up to do the real thing, and the various weird stuff getting in Baker Dill's way inside the game world are apparently the original code somehow rebelling against this and trying to remain a simple fishing sim. Now, in the midst of a literal existential crisis, Dill must grapple with the choice, if indeed he actually has one, whoa, of whether or not to give in and let the game restore equilibrium or help his user work up the nerve to commit self-defense patricide IRL. What? So yeah, that's kind of a leap, especially considering Serenity's marketing didn't even hint that there was any kind of gaming, science fiction, or even genre-bending alternate reality element to its plot at all. The trailers and ads were only ever selling a conventional thriller about hire my ex-husband to kill my current husband story. So, imagine the audience that generally does go to a movie like this in late January sitting down and thinking, well, this looks like a normal grown-up movie, there's two big stars who both have Oscars in it, and then midway in it turns out, no, you're watching a weird, murdery, shut-in gamer kid version of the Lego movie. Oh, and in case you were wondering, yes, the Anne Hathaway character character in the game who keeps getting beat up and doing over-the-top femme fatale seduction stuff to manipulate both guys, but getting shut down by McConaughey to show he's a badass hero who's moved on, and if he is going to help, it's only going to be to save his son, is supposed to represent the kid's actual mother, and yeah, it's as uncomfortable and Hamlet-y as you're thinking. But okay, yeah, it's indeed a big swing, points for balls if nothing else. If you didn't see it and you're still watching, you can probably understand why people are talking about it. But does it actually work as big twists like this go? I'm not entirely sure. The inherent problem with this sort of clockwork practical joke rug pull reveal in storytelling is that even if you presuppose there's any way to do this where, oh, by the way, everything you've been watching has just been a sad, unhinged little kid working out a quasi-Oedipal revenge fantasy on his computer, is something the audience can absorb and then come back down from and resume their investment in the regular story, you're pretty much inviting them to go back and look over the first half in context of this new information, thinking about clues. And there are clues. The weird speed ramping and cinematography shifts are supposed to be the kid changing the camera view in the game, the hero's life revolving around doing repetitive tasks for short money and supplies or because game logic, that kind of thing. But then the other stuff starts to feel like the line between story conceit and lazy writing excuse has been intentionally blurred. The island is a hodgepodge of fisherman melodrama cliches because it's a video game setting programmed by a child, fine. But is that also supposed to be why the supporting characters are one-dimensional and the dialogue is cheesy too? Or was it actually just badly written? Is the cringy romance, weird, awkward sexuality, an intentional representation of an 11-year-old trying and failing to imagine adult relationships, or did the filmmakers just do a bad job? Still, as the tropes and conceits of the gaming medium grow more mainstream, I can at least say I'm curious to see someone try a version of this in a better movie, or failing that, one people go to see. Although it's also kind of a weirdly ugly view of video games in some respects. I mean, am I just being yanked around by forces beyond my control is the quintessential existential noir protagonist conundrum, and adding a video game user relationship layer to that is an interesting spin. But for all the originality, it's unfortunate that what it ultimately boils down to is another pop culture entry where video game prodigy boils down to disturbed kid locked in his room coding and playing literally a murder simulator. Then again, as bad indoor kid pastimes in movies go, I suppose plotting the death of one's abusive stepfather is overall preferable to spamming Nazi frog memes at unemployed journalists or downloading podcasts about lobster masculinity, so points to you, creepy kid from Serenity. I'm Bob, and that's the big picture.